hello, wine-drinking people. Today is Friday, the 7th of October, and yes, we have survived Hurricane Matthew down here in Fort Lauderdale, but I feel bad for those folks in northern Florida, man. That storm is just pounding the north coast of Cocoa Beach, Jacksonville. Those guys just got pummeled. We dodged a bullet here, but we did have to postpone our tasting, our cult wine tasting, which was supposed to be tonight, is next Saturday night, the 15th. We also had one other tasting we've had to cancel. That's the DC Flint tasting, which we just sent the announcement out for that Wednesday, and DC contacted us shortly after that and said, man, I'm going to have to postpone my trip because of the storm. I said, man, it's over. It's Friday. The storm's over. You don't have to postpone your trip. But he already did, not knowing what was going to happen. And like I said, thank goodness, nothing happened to us here. We didn't even lose power at the store. All of your 20,000 bottles safe and sound in those four walls. Well, we have just put a tasting on the calendar like just a week ago for these 1985 vintage Burgundies. I was going to make this a small tasting, only 8 people to make it easy on us, just because I want to drink some of these wines. You know, 1985 is a very important vintage. This is a turning point in Burgundy. And there's no one that describes it better than Clive Coates. I have put his summation of the vintage on here, as well as what happened to Burgundy after 1985. You know, pretty much anyone with Grand Cru and Premier Cru vineyards, instead of selling to the big players in Burgundy, they started bottling their own wine. They realized the value of the dirt that they had, and they wanted to put their name on it, as opposed to selling the juice, which happened a lot in Burgundy, to these large producers. Today, nobody buys juice anymore. They pretty much buy grapes if they're going to buy anything. So things have changed dramatically in Burgundy, and it all started in the 80s, the 85 vintage. A great vintage. It followed a very poor vintage, 1984. And, you know, of these wines just now peaking, the better ones, the Grand Crus, at 30-plus years old. Amazing you can keep Burgundy for this long. I know Krug is not a Burgundy, but we just happen to have some 1985 Krug, my favorite champagne. So I figured it'd be fun to show this with the other 85s. And Krug is serious champagne, so we will not be serving it as a reception wine. No, no, no. We will put it in the glass and serve it as one of the 10 wines that we're serving from the 85 vintage. And watch as this wine opens up. Great champagnes need time to breathe, just like great red wines. And hey, I always decanter my red Burgundies, and we are going to pour them a la minute at this tasting, just to see if it makes a difference, how much time they get in the glass. So check it out. Everything we're going to be serving at our 1985 Burgundy tasting on Thursday, the 13th of October. We've had to cancel DC Flint, and which was the day before, and we've moved the cult tasting to Saturday night, the 15th. So check it out, and everything we've got from the 80s on here. We're bringing back the decade of the 80s. That's right, Bob. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, E.T., Caddyshack, Scarface, and you just rent one of these movies that turned you on in the 80s, open up one of these 80s vintage Burgundies, and have a great night. All right, check it out. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.